What is going on, everybody? Mike and Corey Beth here, and it is day number 3. All right, guys, so welcome back. And I would love to know by just you guys dropping it in the comments, who got a workout in today? I know nobody showed up for my dumbbell workout at 7 a.m. I was anxiously awaiting. In fact, I intentionally took that workout just to see who would show up. And I didn't have any takers.
Aww.
Yeah, I know. I had my regular crew there, so that made everything okay. But hopefully some of you guys got a chance to maybe show up to the 9 a.m. bodyweight workout with Caroline. If not, guys, we're doing this again on Friday. I can't promise I'm going to be there this time. You may have missed your opportunity. That ship may have sailed. But if you are around, definitely would love to see you guys in there. All right, guys, so we are going to get back into it here. And first and foremost, as we just said, welcome back. And so what we're going to do tonight, guys, is first let's just do a quick little recap because a lot has already happened in just 3 days. I mean, can you believe that it's only been 3 days? I mean,
so much has happened in your world already, huh?
It's been nuts. But I mean, just even the amount of work that we've done so far in those first 2 nights. I mean, we covered a lot of stuff in a short amount of time and hopefully got you guys moving and doing some stuff that has already started to help build some of that momentum that you were looking for. So we did the couples commitment pledge. Some of you have done that because you posted up your commitment in the group.
So
shooting us a picture. That's awesome. You did your vision and clarity framework. So getting that vision of that ultimate version of yourselves, right? How to communicate the well and the cup, the most transformative piece of information I think that has ever affected our marriage. And then we got a little bit into nutrition and meal planning. And we learned that the problem isn't how much you're eating, it's what you're eating. So as long as you are utilizing that food list as your guide, then you could put together whatever meals you'd like from that list. You can eat them in whatever amounts make you feel satisfied, and we will guarantee you still drop at least 1 to 2 pounds per week over the course of the next 2, 3, 4 weeks.
So good.
And then we talked a little bit about workouts and how the workouts really serve to optimize your fat loss. So this is not one of these deals where we get to exercise our way out of our problems or out of our poor eating habits. The workouts are there to simply serve to help our metabolism. And then lastly, we set you up on the fitness app, which allowed you access to the workouts, which some of you have done on your own. And again, give you access to the replays as well. We also went really deep. You went really deep last night on them on mindset.
We were talking about how much stuff came up for us that we had, again, forgotten about. And that I think just shows the power of your subconscious mind. And that's when people don't realize how much baggage they may be carrying around with them. And so it is so important to kind of pull through that and pull things out to be able to unpack them, put them away, right? Like where they actually belong, which is in the past and not continually affecting your present. And then we talked about the hard way. We unpacked all the reasons that, we and others have failed in the past.
So we're going to just hang out there for a moment, guys. And we want to go through this again with you because we think this is really important. I mean, when we talk about the hard way, it was you taking action without letting your partner understand your needs. Okay. Too many times we just try to go at this on our own. We might mention in passing that we want to lose a few pounds or get into better shape, but we don't actually express what our true needs are. And then along those same lines, you need to understand your partner's needs. So if you're the one who's really pushing to do this, you're the one who feels like I need this maybe more than my partner does. Well, you also have to understand their perspective and where they're coming from, because that's crucial to making this work. And then obviously you need the full support from your partner. Remember, guys, we call each other partners for a reason. It's a partnership, right? We are in this thing together, and it's only when we have full support that any of us are ever successful. And to do that, that means making the necessary compromises when you do have their support. So it's one thing that, all right, honey, I'm all in. I'm with you, right? But when you come back and say, but do we really have to give up, our Friday night wines, right? Like we like that. That's our time to connect, time to disconnect from everything else, and then just enjoy that. So we have to make compromise, and we have to figure out how to make this work in the long term, because that is what this is ultimately all about.
That's it.
All right. And then
Knowledge of what you're actually supposed to do, and that's so big, right? It's giving you the right things to do and then helping you to put those things into action.
that's right. Because listen, you can take a lot of action, but if you're taking a lot of the wrong action, then you just wind up spinning your wheels. You're like that hamster on the wheel. And in this as well, like, you've spent years doing things that aren't sustainable. So how many times have you gone on to the next diet, the next exercise plan, bought the next home workout piece of equipment that you didn't wind up using, or you used it for a month before it became, some place to just hang the clothing, right? And then what winds up happening is, if the two of you do happen to be, though, maybe on the same page in terms of, hey, we are into getting and staying fit, but maybe you're going in opposing directions. Like, I'm going to do me, you do you, and like, we're just going to leave it at that. But is that a true partnership? It's like, if we have an agreement about something, if we're going to do something together, then we're going to do it together. It's not going to be, all right, Corey Beth, like, you go do your thing over here, I'm going to do my thing over there, and we'll catch up at dinner.
That's it. And what we want you to do right now at this point is drop some of the things that you've done in the past that weren't sustainable. Did you do a workout program? Did you do a diet program? Did you do some home exercise? There was the Nordic track back in the day. My mom had that. She never used it. We even got a home gym in my house when I was growing up. I didn't use it either. I watched TV down there. But, then we also want you to drop, have you felt like you went in opposite directions with your spouse? Is there something maybe that you did without them? You didn't think they wanted to, they expressed they didn't want to. Like, let's just be honest again, because of the environment that we're in. And then finally, we want to talk about just the thousands of dollars that you didn't even realize that you individually or collectively spent on stuff that has not served the both of you. And we get deep on this when we get on breakthrough calls with people, really helping them to target, like, oh my gosh, like, I didn't realize I spent this much on that. I didn't realize that this habit was costing me this over a week, over a month, over a year. Oh my gosh. I mean, there's so many times that we've actually helped people to realize they were spending anywhere from $3,000 to $7,000 annually on stuff that was preventing them from reaching their fitness goals. And so that's a really, really big eye opener. And when we actually start to map that out, I think people have huge aha moments that,
Yeah, because people, listen, one of people's biggest complaints after time as being like an obstacle to getting themselves fit, it's always money. Oh, I can't afford to do this. We can't afford to do this. And the truth of the matter is, guys, it's like, we indiscriminately spend thousands of dollars on things that are not contributing to our success. Just think about the big screen TV that might be hanging on your wall.
All the alcohol. We actually have acquaintances that we see. It's like the party every weekend, and they live locally. So we watch the Amazon boxes get delivered and get delivered and get delivered. And I'm like, but they're not happy.
Mm-hmm.
They're not happy in their bodies and their confidence. And that's expressed to us. And, it's hard, right? When somebody doesn't ask for help, you don't want to offer your 2 cents or your advice, because then, but when we are asked about it, we're very happy to help point those things out. We just don't think about it because we are always trying, I think, to fill that void, right?
Absolutely. And then lastly, we spoke specifically about the guarantor of our success. And that has been utilizing coaches and mentors along the way, because we realized, very early on, and we're going to talk about this in a moment, very early on, that we could not go at it ourselves. And I love this quote from Coach John Wooden. Those of you who know who he is, he is at first he was the winningest coach in NCAA history, right? He was the coach of the UCLA Bruins basketball team. And he used to say, a good coach can change a game, a great coach can change a life. And it's so true, because if you ever come across any of his former players, these guys deep into their 50s, 60s, and 70s, some of them talk about the way that this man has influenced and changed their life. So that he did so much more than just help them win basketball games. So with that being said, what we want to really get into are the 3 secrets of a legacy couple. And the first secret that we're going to cover is secret number 1 is accountability. So how to guarantee the desired outcome every time. I mean, how awesome would that be to go into something and be able to guarantee the outcome? I mean, how often does that happen?
They can't even do that with the weather, right?
Yeah.
And so if you feel like that's what's missing right now is that accountability, we want you to drop accountability in the comments, right? That could be a really big thing that's missing.
The second secret that we're going to cover is stretching yourselves. And we're not talking about stretching before or after workout. We're talking about how not playing small gets you to the top faster. And we have both done some things over the years where we decided not to play small, and suddenly it catapulted us to a place that we didn't expect to be. And then secret number 3 is stepping over the line. And we're going to explain exactly what the line is. And this is how to officially step into your identity as a legacy couple, right?
Woo-hoo!
Exactly, because that's what we're here for. All right. So number 1, we're going to dive into the accountability again, how to guarantee the desired outcome every time. And, how many times have you had an experience with, you did this diet program or that workout program, but you weren't able to keep up with it, right? All of a sudden life started getting in the way, and, we tell ourselves all these stories that, it's just not the right time. I got too much stuff going on. But the truth of the matter is like, we just don't have the accountability. So, I mean, why don't you, again, we spoke about it briefly last night, but how about, again, just kind of touching on your story of, how you came to realize that you needed some accountability.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was New York Sports Club to Club Fit to Planet Fitness, right? And I knew that I wanted someone to show me how to do it. I think for women, weights alone are very intimidating, and gyms are filled with those things. And so, as I mentioned, walking past my high school and my college gym, like, it really was so painful for me because I wanted to be in there, but I didn't know how. So I'm like, okay, now I'm a teacher, now I'm an adult, like I should be able to figure this out. But still, I would go in and I would do the same ab crunches on the hanging machine at every gym that I went to that did nothing for, me aesthetically. And I would just do what I was comfortable with, was the elliptical. I'd walk in and that's where I saw the women. So I was like, I guess this is where I belong. And then there was the guys with the lurk alarm, over on the other side of the gym. And I was like, I guess I don't belong over there. And so at the end of the day, nobody cared whether or not I showed up to Planet Fitness. Nobody really cared whether or not I showed up to Club Fit. They collected my monthly membership, and it didn't matter to them whether or not I was there because I'd signed a contract, and to get rid of those contracts, you got to show up in person and give 30 days. I mean, they're really hard to get out of. And so it really clicked for me that, okay, I've now invested money in 3 different places. I have not achieved anywhere near the result I want to get. In fact, I think I had started to gain some weight because I thought if I was working out, I could eat and drink some more, right? We go into that ridiculous mindset. And finally, for me, it was driving past a personal training studio named Pure Physique on my way down to my teaching job in Chappaqua that I was like, you know what? Maybe that is what I need. Maybe it's like a personal trainer that's actually going to show me how to start to get those results. Now, I had no idea what I was signing up for. It was so much more than that because I thought he'll show me how to do some crunches, how to get some abs. And I think that that's oftentimes what we think. We realize that we can't do it the old way. Our way doesn't work. And when we realize that, we do realize that something resonates within us, or we realize that we need help. We have to find a new way to do things because our way isn't working anymore. And so that for me was, that was a big turning point. I was like, that was not a good time of my life either, where I'd gone through physical injuries and was suffering with digestive issues and all this. And it was like, this sucks. I don't want to continue to go I was in my 20s, so.
Well, let me just ask you this quick question. So because, I was there, I know what you experienced as far as like those external things that happened to you, but now take yourself out of the studio for a moment, right? Out of having a trainer. And what do you think would have been the percentages that you would have continued to keep up with everything that you're doing when you had all those things happen to you?
0. Like, let's just be honest. Like every time, and we hear this all the time. In fact, 3 clients literally this week were like, oh, like stuff happened, like can't keep up. And I'm like, no, actually you can. For me, I think about that often because of what we've done with coaches and mentors. And I'll never forget sitting in a Tony Robbins event thinking that exact thing. If I didn't have the accountability and life happened to me in the way that it did, from a head injury to a nose injury and a car accident, right? We've all had stuff happen to us. I think about the person I'd be today, and hands down 100%, I'd definitely be 40 pounds heavier. I'd be miserable. I'd have skin issues. I'd still be going to the dermatologist twice a week, getting steroid shots in my face. I'd still be spending $800 a month on creams and lotions to try to correct my skin and my face. I would definitely still be on medications for IBS, going to, get colon checkups all the time. And it's just so crazy that none of that is part of my life right now. And so going deep in that mindset, yeah, I can see the person I would have been. And honestly, I'd be miserable. There would be not even a semblance of who you guys know me as.
Yeah, I mean, we hear from clients all the time, they're like, if I didn't have the appointment, I probably wouldn't show. But that's just one piece of accountability. I mean, listen, for me, a lot of my latching on or looking for accountability had to do with failed business attempts. So a lot of people don't realize that, when I got started as a personal trainer, I worked in a studio, advanced myself pretty quickly within the first 6 months, said, I'm looking for more, ended up in New York City. Everything was going great there. And that's when the light bulb went off saying, hey, I could do this on my own. And I struck out on my own and quickly realized after about a year and a half that, wow, I don't know what I'm doing. And so when I finally did start my business over again, one of the first things that I did was I hired a coach. I hired Jim Riley. He was my action coach.
He was awesome.
He was great. And where Jim really stepped in was, every single week I knew I had that appointment where we'd be sitting down face to face, and I had to have my homework done. I had to show up with the stats, right? I had to show up with what was the work that I actually accomplished? What did I leave on the table? And it was, this wasn't a guy who wasn't going to crack the whip on me, but at the same time, it lit a fire underneath me that said, you got to go get this stuff done. And guys, if you know me, like I'm not the person who wants to sit down and do stats. Like I'm not the person, not the spreadsheet guy. I'm none of that, but to say that, all right, you have to have this done for me. And now I have to show up and face this person. Like it's a certain level of accountability that, when you have that, it pushes you to do more than you would ever do on your own. So again, we always like to think that we could do it on our own, but I'm going to ask you this: rate your success going at it solo. And I know not everybody has had like a terribly poor experience, but how many of you have had just an average experience, right? I mean, you do it, but you're still not where you ultimately want to be. So this is step number 1 in the process, guys, is that I want you to just take a moment and, write down on a piece of paper. Take out a piece of paper and just rate what has been my success going at it solo. Like, what is my pattern? Do I get going strong for 2 or 3 weeks and then I fall off? Or I stay consistent for 2 or 3 months and then I slowly start cutting back until it finally just dissipates and you don't even remember why you stopped doing it. So whether we're talking about nutrition, whether we're talking about exercise, whether we're talking about your lifestyle changes, I want you to rate your success as poor, average, or excellent. Next is identifying the hangups. And this is me trying to jump over the obstacles in my life. And I know that many of us have felt this way many of times. I mean, we have these big hangups and why have we fallen short? That's the question that I want to ask you. Like, why have you fallen short? What are the moments, the situations, the circumstances that always tend to lead to you falling off? What has deterred your past attempts? These are all questions, guys, that I want you to answer right now. Take the time to write this down. Figure that stuff out, because trust me, when you walk away with this as homework, as you walk away and being able to look and see like, wow, this is what my problem has been all the time. It hasn't been this particular diet. It hasn't been carbs, right? It hasn't been, it hasn't been my husband or it hasn't been my wife. Like these are the real hangups.
Our children or stress or baseball or sports we could throw anything in there, and quite frankly, Mike and I were worried about getting on tonight. We have a 3-year-old who's cutting molars right now. And so the screaming that went on for about 40 minutes tonight was like, oh my gosh, right? Like those things could be hangups. And if we didn't have the accountability to you tonight to show up, We very well could have said, you know what, we're not going to do it tonight. We'll do it tomorrow night. And that happens far too often, right? To have that accountability, like when you have those hangups that start to come, it's so much easier to blast through them than to get totally stunted by them.
And listen, guys, the hangups aren't just about you achieving, because I know that some of you out there, you are overachievers, right? And you have achieved things. But then my question to you would be, what has been the hangup that didn't allow you to maintain it? Because oftentimes we always find ourselves just falling off. Or what's the hangup between where you are and where you want to go? So for my overachievers out there, it's always about peak performance, right? It's about how much further can I take this? And so there's no justifying here, guys. Like, be totally honest with yourselves. I don't want to hear like it's my hormones or it's this or it's that. It's not. Those are not the real problems. Those are us trying to justify our circumstances versus really looking at our circumstances and saying, okay, where am I responsible here?
Yeah, so good.
All right, step number 3 this is the big one. You got to get an accountability coach. Like, what are you doing? Like, stop making excuses. You need somebody to hold your feet to the fire. Like, that is what it's all about ultimately. And when you have an accountability coach, guess what? They're not going to let you off the hook. But here's the deal, guys. Your spouse shouldn't be your accountability coach.
Period.
It does not work out well.
No.
Here's how your relationship ties into this, because obviously you're supposed to be on this journey together. The best way to go about it is to have an outside individual to be your accountability coach for the both of you.
Yes.
Okay. And now what happens is you each have your own set of responsibilities, right? Based on your current set of circumstances, based on your steps. And as the spouse, like, I can sit there and be supportive of you and remind you, like, hey, babe, you got to get that done because our coach is going to be checking in. And it's not me saying you haven't done it. Well,
this is an actual conversation because we do have a business coach that checks in with us every Sunday night at 7 p.m. We got to get on and report what we've done over the week. And it's so interesting. I'm like, did you get the report in? He's like, did you get that in? It's more of a check-in, whereas this accountability coach gets on and he's like, hey, if you commit to this number, like, you have to do this number. If you commit to this thing, you have to do this thing. And if not, there's a punishment. We have 100 push-ups live in our coach's Facebook group. And legit, one night I thought he was sending me like 100 push-ups. He was sending it to the group, but it popped up on my phone and like my entire body froze because I fell one day short of what I was supposed to do. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, I think I have to go. But do you understand like how much that makes you have a fire lit under your butt to move rather than I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it next year, next quarter, next month, next year. It's okay. It didn't happen. Like, it's that outside person that can look in and be like, stop with your BS and let's move. Because what we know to be true is that all of us possesses within us everything we need to be successful. The problem is none of us tap into it and none of us tap into it consistently. And so that outside person has an opportunity to look in and say, hey, love you, but I'm going to call you on your BS and let's get moving. How amazing is that to have somebody like that constantly in your life, pushing you in a loving way to the next level?
Well, what I love most about it is the fact that when we do this together, it's like we have each other's back. Like I said, we're not
it's so true.
Fighting each other over who didn't do what. It's more supportive. And to be quite honest, it wasn't always like that. I mean, there were many times, especially after the first season was kind of like the unicorn season for us. It was kind of like, you were all in and I was all in and it was great. And then all of a sudden we got deeper into our relationship. We're like, yeah, that's why couples don't work out together all the time. So,
yeah, it's true.
And then the next step beyond that, guys, is after you have your accountability coach, what they're going to help you do is systematize everything. So as Corey Beth said, like, our system with our coaches, we check in every Sunday night at 7. Part of our system is we know we have to get certain homework done. We have to get it done on time. And the same goes for you with your fitness. I mean, listen, there's a schedule, there's going to be deadlines, there's going to be different ways you have to go about it. But when it's systematized for you, then you can control the chaos around you. Because listen, as Corey Beth pointed out before, early on tonight, we thought that literally it was going to be me and you guys. Like she might not actually be sitting next to me, that I might have to do this myself. But the nice part is that we have a system around this stuff. Like there was ways of getting the work done and making sure that if she needed to step up and do it, it could have gotten done. If I needed to do it alone, it would have gotten done. But the fact is that, you know, we were able to sit here together. Thankfully, we're much happier doing it this way.
Well, and it's because even in life, you have routines and schedules, right? Our kids are pretty systematized that after dinner, you go up and you take your bath, right? And you get yourself ready for bed. And in that system of our family schedule and routine, you know, throwing in a bonus movie in our bed tonight was like a really big deal for them. And so getting them through the routine, which is a system, by the way, and then throwing that extra bonus carrot in, like that is why we're here together. But it's like if we didn't have boundaries and routines with our kids where it was like, oh, you guys can just stay up and hang out down here and play and whatever. No, I would not be here tonight. I mean, like, you know, not in a weird way, but you know what I mean? Like Grayson would absolutely need me to be on my lap right now.
Yeah, 100%. So
systems, routines, morning, evening, daily, workout, schedules, alarms, reminders, water, food, meals, all of it's important. And when you get it systematized in one area of life, guess what? Then your finances come in, then your business goals come in, then relationship goals, then friendship goals, then vacations, right? It's all the same. And if you can master it in one realm of your life, you can transfer it. This is a transferable skill. Systems are everywhere. You have systems you don't even realize they may not be optimized right now, but you do have systems.
Well, systems are shortcuts, right?
Heck yeah, they are.
All right, guys. So the next secret that we're going to jump into, secret number 2, is stretch yourselves. And this is how to not play small and how not playing small gets you to the top faster.
Well, and this is actually a hot one in the comments right now. Caitlin and JT are saying that's what we need, stretching ourselves.
So I'll kick this one off. So for me, you know, the example of like stretching myself came when I first started my journey as a personal trainer. So I'm like a young 22-year-old guy coming out of college, you know, like I'm about to do this fitness thing, right? And the one thing that I realized really, really quickly is because of all of my, if you want to call them past transgressions or like just, you know, not good habits and what have you, I was this guy who like had built some muscle, but under all these layers of fat. I mean, that's essentially what it was. But my thing was that, you know, I wanted to grow as a trainer. I wanted to grow in my knowledge and my understanding. And so I looked at myself in the mirror and I go, well, you don't have 6-pack abs. Who are you to tell anybody how to get 6-pack abs? And right away I realized like, okay, you know, number one job, I got to learn how to do this. And I have to learn it not for, believe it or not for any vanity reasons. Like I literally was doing it as research. I wanted to know and understand. I wanted to be able to empathize with somebody and say, no, I get it. Like I get it, but just keep doing this. And I knew I had to be in it to win it, so to speak. And so how did I do it? Well, I could have just done a diet, right? I could have just jumped on a diet and said, all right, I'm going to do this kind of along at my own pace and see how it goes. Instead, I took it a little bit further. I said, let me sign up for a bodybuilder show. I've never done that before. I think that might be a cool thing to be able to do. And I'm going to probably learn a lot along the process. But the best part is that there was like a very specific deadline behind it. So it was like, boy, you got 4 months to do this. And in 4 months, you better learn what to do. You better apply what you need to do. And you better get it done. Otherwise, it's going to be really embarrassing when you're standing up there with this like little next to nothing on and hundreds of people watching you. And you're sitting there like not in the condition that everybody else was in. And even though I stepped up, I didn't place very well. But the point is like I felt good. Like I belonged out there and I learned so much in the process. But had I not stretched for that further goal, that one that was way out there for me, I would have never taken those steps and learned as much as I did in that short amount of time.
It's so good. And that's so true. You know, oftentimes we hear that, like, I want to work with someone who's achieved what I want to achieve or looks the way that I want to look. And for me, you know, if I wanted to look like a fitness model, right? Like that was always my dream. And I was really far from it, maybe in other people's minds, but definitely in my own mind. But I really had to commit to that goal that was far from where I was with a definitive deadline. And so when Mike in, what was that, April, May, June, said, I'm going to do this bodybuilding show. And I'm like, wait, when is it? He was like, October. And I was like, of this year? He was like, yeah. Now, again, I had never done anything like that. I procrastinated my goals. I let goals go. I let new year after new year after new year, where I was like, it'll be this year. It'll be this year. And every year I was 5 to 10 pounds heavier. Every year of high school, I gained another 5 pounds. And by the time that he said this to me and the time frame we had to do it, in my head, I'm like, that's impossible. But my heart was like, yes, I'll do this with you, you know? And so the fact that I had the accountability and the belief in me that, like, yes, this was possible, it did help me to stretch myself beyond anything I'd ever achieved or accomplished before. And so having that mindset shift, the coaching, the accountability, the shift around my thinking of fitness and nutrition, completely shattered, by the way. Everything that I talked about in terms of eating and working out was wrong. Everything that I spewed in college was wrong, right? You got to lift light weights to tone and heavy weights make you bulky, like total BS, all of it. Shout out to Caitlin, who did 115 pounds on pull down, actually, right? Very lean, very toned, not bulky at all. You know, it became something that I didn't just try. It actually became who I became. Does that make sense, you guys? Like, this is not like, okay, I'm gonna try to stretch myself. I actually became a whole different person through this process. And so stretching myself for that definitive end date of stepping on stage in October, going down to Miami, then going up to Canada in November. Like, we had 3 shows. I don't know if you remember. It was,
oh yeah, no, I remember.
It was intense.
It was a lot.
You know, and I think too, in that stretch, it's like, I had the same thought. Like, I don't want to embarrass myself, you know? And so that helped me in the stretch. You helped me in the stretch. I mean, it was totally a stretch. And I don't know, I would never be who I am now if I didn't stretch myself initially.
I was proud of you for taking the leap of faith.
It was a big jump.
It was. And that's what we're talking about, guys. We're talking about taking that leap of faith, right? Taking that jump. And so what are the steps, though, that you have to take to do this, right? Because we can throw all this stuff out there. We can tell you guys, this is what you're supposed to do. But there are actual steps to making it happen. And these are the steps that we ourselves walk ourselves through in order to make this work. So the first thing is you have to define what your ultimate goal is. Now, if you're going to sit down and do this exercise, I don't want you to just, think about what you'd like to have. I mean, think about the ultimate goal. Like, what is that dress that you would love to get into, right? It's like, how do you want to really look as you're walking into bed at night? Your spouse is already laying down. Like, what do you want to look like, right?
I'm so sorry. Listen, I just want to go to that really quick, because where you are now, you may think that this is not possible, right? And Mike's going to talk about where to really map out that goal. But your ultimate goal is not what you think is possible. It's beyond that, right? That's what makes it the stretch. And I will never forget the beginning of our relationship, not wanting to get undressed around you, not wanting him to see me like in my underwear and bra, because like I had a little of this there and a little of that there. And I was like, oh. And it's I'm just going to be real with you guys. Like, I love getting into bed with my husband and him being like, oh my gosh, like, you look amazing. And I'm like, yeah. I mean, like, is that not every wife's dream? Because at the end of the day, ladies, it's not really about like him being like, yeah, you look good. Yeah, you look fine. Right. But if we feel miserable and terrible about ourselves, that's a deal breaker.
That affects the whole family.
I mean, he's like, that affects the sexual relationship too. It does. It really is about how we feel. So feeling confident and feeling sexy to come and literally feel like some days, I mean, not every day feels like that, right? Some days when I'm living in that vision, it's incredible. So like, I really want you guys to push beyond what you think is possible to that ultimate vision of how you look, how you feel, what someone else says to you, how they look at you, how they make you feel, right? Like, really put yourself in that place.
So here's the exercise, guys. If you had a magic lamp and the genie came out and can grant you any wish around your fitness, around who you want to be, about how you guys want to be as a couple, right? How you want to show up as a couple. If they could grant any wish, like, what would that be? And that should be your ultimate goal.
Love it.
All right. So now that might be your ultimate goal, but I want you to take it even further.
Oh, man.
So I want you to tack, and we're using hypothetical numbers here, obviously, but like, this is how I want you to think. Tack 30% onto your ultimate goal to come up with what your stretch goal is. So here's the deal. We know we could get you to hit your ultimate goal.
Pretty true.
Without a doubt. Like, we'll get you to hit your ultimate goal. We want you to take it even further. And there's reasons for this. It's not just, hey, look at what, I can do. It's also because I'm big on insurance when it comes to fitness. And what I mean by that is, like, I'm always been the guy that says, hey, listen, if I'm talking to somebody who's maybe in their 30s, let's say, I'm like, listen, put on as much muscle as you can now, because as you get older and you're slowly losing it, it's like you want to be ahead of the curve, right? You want to have that insurance. You want to have muscle to lose that doesn't affect your ability to function the way that you want to function. So when we have a stretch goal, we're not just going to hit our goal. We're going to work to push beyond it. And then when we do, should we fall back just a little bit, at least we're still where we ultimately wanted to be. Does that make sense?
So good.
All right. And now, once you have that stretch goal in mind, I want you to do this. I want you to list out what are the what's, the how's, and the how long. Like, what are the things that you're going to have to do? How are you going to do it? How are you going to make it happen? And how long is it going to take to get it done? And then I want you to reduce your time frame by 30%. And now you have your BHAG. And so what's a BHAG? Well, BHAG comes from Jim Collins in his book, Good to Great. And BHAG stands for Big, Hairy, Audacious Goal. Right? A big, hairy, audacious goal. Like, guys, this is about being ambitious. That's what stretching yourself is all about. You got to be more ambitious. You can't just sit back and say, oh yeah, achieving that would be cool. It's like, no, you got to go big. Go big or go home, right? You've all heard that saying, but it's true. Because another cliche, right? Like, shoot for the stars. And if you hit the moon, it's all those things, but they're true. So we want you to set that big, hairy, audacious goal. And guess what happens, guys? When you reduce that time frame, now it becomes more real. Now you have a lot more to do in a compressed period of time, but that also is going to increase your focus around that goal.
So true.
All right. So secret number 3.
Stepping over the line. This is how to officially step into your identity as a legacy couple. So lead us in, Mike, on this one, because this is awesome.
All right, guys. So let's take it back a little bit. Several years back, we were at Tony Robbins' Unleash the Power Within. And that's the one where, you do the fire walk and all that stuff.
Did you guys ever do that? You got to drop it in the comments if you've ever done it or if you wanted to do it. We've had a lot of friends like, I want to walk on fire. We did it. It was pretty cool.
It was awesome. It was awesome. And, at the time, it was like stepping into that. It's like, okay, we're going to make this investment, right? We're going to go and we're going to do this. And so we're at this event. It's a 3-day event. And I think collectively it was about like $600 for that event.
Yeah.
And so not including though, like the hotel and the travel and all that, but we're like, all right, we're going to step into this and see how it goes. And so we're there. And I remember it was like, was it like day three maybe?
Yeah. The morning of day 3.
And they're talking about now business. And we were like, okay, this is cool. Like, we had literally, I don't even know if we had just started working together, I believe.
Yeah.
At that time.
Yes.
So at that time, we just start working together and they start going into business. And we're like, all right, this is awesome. Wow.
This is what we need.
This is like, we're getting all these nuggets.
No, wait, we're there with my mom, my dad, my sister, Mike's sister, and another family member. So like there was a whole group of us that was there, which is crazy.
Yes. So we're going through this whole process. And now at the end of the business presentation, they were like, all right, guys, listen, if this resonated with you, and we're like, yeah, this resonated with us, right? This resonated with you. We got an awesome opportunity. It's called business mastery.
Right. Now our hands are up. We're like, yes, we need the business mastery, right?
Yep.
And then what happened?
And then they turn around and they go, all right, guys, so here's the deal for business mastery. it's usually this much, but if you jump in right now, it's $10,000.
And I was like, no.
And we were like, and then they're like, if you decide to bring somebody with you, it'll only be a $5,000 add-on. So it was like $15,000, and we're sitting there and we're dying because
he was way more dying, because I was like, oh, we were just pregnant with Reardon. Like
Yep.
we had just, I mean, we were like weeks pregnant with Reardon, and I don't even know if our family knew I was pregnant. And I'm like, we don't have $15,000. Like, you are out of your mind. So of course, Tony Robbins is talking about the time when he didn't have the money and he couldn't make the investment. And I'm like, I'm dying inside because I know how bad he wants to do this. And I was worried too about stepping over this line, you guys, because my family is sitting next to us. And I'm like, what are they going to think? Like, these guys just pulled 15 grand out of their butts. Like, are you serious? I mean, there's so many fears that came up when you step over that line. So what happened, Mike?
Well, first of all, they said that, if you're ready to do this, like just go to the back of the room, right? And so you're seeing like these droves of people and you're looking.
Businessmen with
Yes.
like their platinum name tags. We had like the general admission, right?
Yeah. And I'm sitting there going, oh man. And I'm looking at Corey Beth. I'm like, we need this.
And I knew we needed it, but I didn't want to say yes.
Yeah. And so then finally, like, I just got up and I went. And I remember like your family like had it looking like, is he going to the bathroom? And I literally come back with 2 tickets to Business Mastery, which was going to be in like West Palm. And
the hat that said Business Mastery.
Yes.
So my family knew what we had just done. We actually met Rohan.
Yep.
So he actually is still a friend to this day, which is pretty cool. He's the guy that sold us the Business Mastery tickets. We stay in touch with him. And they put us in that room in the back, and they started to explain what we were signing up for and what it would be like and what to expect. And I knew that was a big pivotal moment in our life, because that was the biggest investment we'd ever made as a couple. It was money we definitely didn't have. And we were like, but we knew in our core that that's what we needed to like get to the next level.
yeah, so for us, that was a, draw the line in the sand moment. And it was, what do you do when you're faced with that moment? Do you step over the line or do you stay where you are? And the thing is, guys, is that this is a test of your identity, or the identity that you want to assume. And that's the thing that we're all going to be faced with at some point or another. We're going to be faced with, do I take that step or do I just stay right where I am? And the thing is that the lower version of yourself is going to come up with every single reason attached to your current identity as to why you should stay right where you are. It's going to tell you like, it's too much money. It's going to tell you now's not the time. The holidays are around the corner. I'll do this, when I save up for it. But like, we know that we never do any of those things. Like, we just allow things to just keep getting in our way. And, for us, it's come to a point where like we recognize those moments now. See, that's the cool thing, is like after you've taken that first step,
So true.
then you start to recognize like whenever any of these opportunities come up. It's so funny because like the last one we did, it was, and this was recently too.
A month
It was
ago.
a month ago. And it was kind of like, should we do this? And it was just like, yeah, no, we have to do it. Like if now it's not even a question. If we get that feeling in our body that says like, oh man, like everything is telling me this is exactly what I'm looking for. This is exactly what I need. And then we start coming up with reasons not to do it. Then we know that we should do it.
Well, it's your subconscious, and your subconscious comes up and just says, no, stay in comfort. Don't stretch beyond what you've already done. Don't stretch beyond who you already are. Like, just stay protected here because you're safe, right? You're safe. But really, do you want to go through your life playing it safe? I don't. We've jumped out of planes, off bridges, like we definitely don't like to play it safe in business or in life, and that's why I think it's so fun though to attract people like you guys. Like, that's why you're here, right? You're people that like, yes, you do play it safe. Like, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but you're also people that like, when it's right to take a risk. You've taken risks in starting a business or doing something or going somewhere you've never been or showing up to a workout you've never done. Like, you've taken risks before, and it's exhilarating.
Oh, absolutely.
Terrifying and exhilarating.
And then from that moment forward, I mean, we've spent, well, here, guys. All right. So our total investment over the last 7 years of doing this, okay, has been priceless.
100%.
It truly has been 100% priceless because of the changes that it's made in our relationship, the changes that it's made in our business, and the changes that's made just in us individually. Like, we are different people today than we were just even a year ago, certainly 2 or 3 years before that, and forget it, completely unrecognizable from the ones that you would have met about 7 or 8 years ago.
You would be friends with us.
No, probably not. But really, over the last 7 years, we've invested $144,940. $144,940 over the last 7 years because it's worth it. And
this does not include meals, trips, hotels. No. Like, this is straight up finances that we've invested into coaching. And it's so interesting too, because I know that people don't realize that's the dividing line, right? Like, they see people that are killing it. We did 7, 8 years ago. We saw couples that were like, oh my gosh, like, how do they know that? Or how are they so skilled? Or how are they so confident? How do they know what to do? How do they make those connections? And they're so good at networking, and they're just like confident in their life. And when they talk about stuff, this was the dividing factor. And then we're not saying you have to invest this much off the bat. It was a slow, I mean, our first investment together was $600. Okay. But that's the dividing, it's people who invest in themselves. That's the dividing line between the people that stagnate and the people that grow, is the self-investment, because self-investment is growth. And honestly, if all of the coaching we received over the last 7 years, the exact coaching that we invested this amount of money for, was given to us for free, we never would have used any of it.
No.
There's value, right? When there's a dollar amount attached, there's value attached to it. And that's why we did it, and we played full out, and it's transformed our life, our relationship, our business, our fitness, everything.
And I just want to go back to something we said earlier, guys. Like, we were in that moment where we were like, we don't have this money. Like, where are we going to come up with this money? And I want to give you guys a quote. I don't know if any of you guys have ever read the book, The Alchemist. It's an awesome book. The author's name is I want to say this right, Paulo Coelho. Paulo Coelho, right? So I'm trying. All right. And what he said is when you want something, all the universe conspires in helping you to achieve it. And this has proved true for us. This has proved true for all of the high-level friends and mentors we've had. I mean, we've heard other people tell us this, like, just take the leap, you'll figure it out. And it's amazing how all of a sudden it's like you do something that's scary, right? But you take that step, and suddenly, like, things just come together for you. Like, you know, maybe the $10,000 wasn't there right away, but like, all of a sudden we're getting more business suddenly. Like, and even if it didn't relate to the money, just the way that we came out of that as people, as individuals, the way we grew, like, that's time you can't get back. Yes. That's time you can't get back. I mean, I think about early on in our relationship, like some of the accelerated arguments that we had.
Such a nice way to put it.
And where it would leave us, and for how many days it would leave us in that place.
Yeah, that's painful.
And to think though now, because of up leveling the coaching that we've gotten just around relationship alone, just around that alone, how many years it saved us, how many nights of sleep, how many just hours in the day of being angry at one another, right? Or like being really irritated by something the other one did. And it's like, now literally, like, some of the worst things when they happen, I mean, we're over it in minutes.
It is insane. It's insane.
When you really consider that.
Yes. Yeah, I forgot. I used to cry in my closet a lot. I'd shut the door and cry. And that's where I spent hours, if not days, in there, just, again, fighting the first couple of years of our relationship. Like, nobody teaches you how to do this. If you want to go out and learn how to do the best, be the best, and perform at your best, like, you have to go searching for it. This is not stuff you learn in school or college or from your friends. They don't know. And that's, it's like the 5 people you surround yourself with is who you become most like. So for us, we've always chosen hand-selected mentors to come into our lives to spend that time with, because they were people we wanted to emulate what they had and what they did in their life.
Yep. So here are the steps, guys. Step number 1, and we've already done this. Identify who you each are at your highest self, okay? Your legacy you. So we've already done that exercise yesterday, so that's awesome. But step number 2 is identify who you each are at your lowest self, your dead end self. And obviously, you know, what we're ultimately after is to live life in that legacy mode as often as we can, and to literally dead that dead end version of yourself. And that is what we're looking for. So it's like, the question is, I mean, it's not just about who you want to be, it's who do you never want to be again? Like, I never want to be angry Mike again. I never want to have like that kind of encounters with you and feel that way inside myself. You know, so what would it be like to completely banish that version of you forever? I mean, what is that actually worth? I mean, can you put a price tag on that? I don't think you can. You know, and what would that mean though for your relationship, right? So if you each did this, what difference would it make in your relationship? As I said, for us, we've gained literally years back. Yeah. And to think that, you know, we've been together for 10 years and yet we've done more, and I'm not saying it in a bragging way, but like we've done more in 10 years than a lot of couples do in 30.
Yeah.
But that's because we had to grow really fast, and because we grew really fast together, we were able to do those things. So
and that together is so important. Can I just point that out really quick? You know, for me, when I started coaching women in the beginning of my coaching career, there was almost this like void at the end of that, where I then saw the woman like here and her husband was still here, you know? And it's not to say like that he didn't grow, but the coaching happened with her, right? There was no coaching that happened with him. And I remember sitting down with you and being like, I got to like search really deep within myself, because I almost feel like I'm doing some of these couples a disservice. I know that I'm improving this woman's life in ways that she could never imagine. She's thinking differently. She's not offended or affected. She's eating better. She's exercising, right? All these things are incredible for her. But like, oh my gosh, like now there's this huge gap between the two of them. And so, I mean, this has really been 3 years in the making, what you guys are here to experience right now, because we know all of it is better together, right? We want to be together in this and up leveling together, because I can't imagine if you went off and did all of this personal growth without me. I would probably resent you, and vice versa.
Well, we had one of those moments, didn't we?
We did have one.
We did. And it was all on me, guys. It was Corey Beth taking the step to up level her game. And
we did twice, actually. There was rec, and then there was that too.
That's true. So like I did it first, and then she did it to me. And this is also why we've learned, like, you don't do this separately.
Yeah, it's so much better together.
So much better.
But that was like our only like fight of recent years. Where like, again, I felt left out. You know, that was like a throwback to my baggage of being left out of the gym and left out of goals. And for you, like, you couldn't believe that I went and made a big business decision without you. And, you know, fortunately, Mike spoke to our mentor who helped that conversation, and it was a great decision in the end. You know, but it's really hard, I think, to go at that when your spouse is not on the same page. So we just want to encourage you guys to really be clear on your legacy and your dead end selves, and then look at that together, because doing this together, it's going to exponentially grow you. Like if you did this on your own, yes, it's going to grow you, but together it's an exponential growth that happens.
Absolutely. So here's step number 3. Reach out and grab our hand. Guys, we are literally on this other screen right now, reaching out our hand to you, all right? And we want you to grab our hand. We want you to allow us the privilege of leading you up the mountain. You know, we talked on day 1 about like being the, you know, like the fitness Sherpas, right? And we know that it has so much more to do than just fitness. Like that's just a piece of the puzzle. So that's what we're looking for you guys to do is to take our hand, because we know it's scary. We know what's going to go through some of your minds, and we know that lower self is going to be starting to get louder and louder and louder the closer that you get to actually reaching out and grabbing our hand. So step number 4 is to step over the line. So if you were to just take your finger, point it at the ground, and draw an imaginary line, what you're seeing right now is that version of yourself, that highest version of yourself, but not even just the highest version, that stretch goal version of yourself on the other side of that line right now. They're standing right there. And they're saying to you, come on, just step over the line. It's so much better on this side. Like, I understand it's scary, but trust me, it's there. And the way that we put it, guys, is like, give us 1% of your trust and let us earn the other 99%. Because we promise you, we will lead you in the right direction, and you will have all the things that you're coming here for. So what we want you to do is send us a DM. It's really simple, guys. Send us a DM to schedule a breakthrough call. And these are breakthrough calls that we've done. I mean, they're $500 calls that we're gonna do for free. Like, and we're saying to DM us, guys, because what we're gonna do differently than we've done in the past, which is like, hey, go to this link and schedule. It's like, no, the 4 of us are gonna hop on a Zoom together. So we know it's gonna take a little bit more coordinating of schedules, right? But we wanna do this. We wanna do this because, listen, the worst that can happen in this situation is that you uncover some things that need to be changed, and then you walk away with a game plan with how to do it. Okay?
So sure.
We're not here to force anybody's arm. As much as we want you to join us on this journey, and we'll go over everything in terms of the investment. Don't worry, it's not $144,000.
Not even close.
Not even close. But we want that opportunity to be able to work with you, to serve you, because we know that this is what you need in order to just take your relationship, your lives, your family to the next level, and to create that legacy for yourselves.
So good. And even just being here today, just think of how much you've expanded your mind. Monday night, Tuesday night, Wednesday night, you've realized things about yourself you didn't realize before. You have grown in ways that you weren't growing before. And so think about already how amazing it is to have this conversation and be in this space together. Like, we want to honor you for up-leveling yourself, from making that decision. Like, it's not an easy one at 8:30 on a weeknight to hop on a Zoom for an hour and sit and talk about all this stuff, but you're here, you've committed, you made the decision, you're doing the work. Like, think how much better it would be to get on where we're actually talking to you and working through, like we'll be real TSA agents working through some problems. It's incredible. It's really, really eye-opening.
I mean, again, if you thought this was good, like, we're going to 1000x what
Yes.
you've done here. I mean, seriously, guys. All right. So we're going to be closing this thing out, and we're just going to give you maybe some insight into what we're going to do tomorrow. We were going to do this tonight. We've seen that based on time, we want to be respectful of everybody's time. But what we want to talk about next, guys, is routines. We want to talk about morning routine. How do you start your day? Your evening routine. How do you end your day? Right? Most of us just end our day maybe passing out on the couch, but that's not the way you want to end your day.
Yes.
Trust me. And then we're going to talk about your daily routine. So what is the rhythm of your day? So believe it or not, like, every single day, there is a certain rhythm to that day. So things as simple as, like, when do you eat? When do you stop eating? What's your work schedule like? What's your home schedule like? What's your homeschooling schedule like? Where does exercise fit into this equation? And then there's the weekly routine. So what days of the week are you working out, right? Because we don't have to work out every day, but each week there should be kind of a set standard of at least how many days we're doing. And generally speaking, like, what days we're doing them on. What days are you shopping for your food? What days are you meal prepping, right?
Or what days are you ordering your groceries to be delivered to your house? And is that consistent every week? Or are you always changing it up and you run out of food in your house?
I mean,
Systems, routines and systems are everything.
that's right, guys. And that's why we're so big on routines. And, you know, sometimes people feel like, oh, you know, like, I don't want a routine. Like, that sounds boring. It's like, no, you don't understand. Like, having a routine is what frees you up to do more of the things that you want to do freely. And so that's why we're so huge on this. And this is what we're going to dive into tomorrow.
We'll give you a sneak peek, though, into our evening routine. Should we tell them?
Yeah, sure. Go for it.
Shower, pray, sex, read, sleep.
A little bit out of order. I had
Oh,
read, So shower.
Well, you read while I'm
Read.
finishing in the shower.
This is true. I read, pray, then sex. Best way to end it off.
Kind of awesome, right, guys?
Yep.
You feel really good. You sleep really well.
Absolutely. All right, guys. Hope you had a wonderful night. We will catch you guys tomorrow once again, same time, same channel, 8:30. We'll see you guys later.